My name's Martin Mills. I'm President of the Australian Association for Research in Education. I too would like to acknowledge the traditional owners on whose lands we're meeting and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging, and to any Indigenous people in the audience. It's a great thrill to be opening this summit, this conference, this gathering. We decided last year that we needed to ensure that some of the outstanding research that was being undertaken in Australia actually engaged with the community with whom we were often undertaking our research, and that we needed to have a greater critical engagement with the profession as well as with other academics, and that we needed to explore ways of having an impact. And so we decided to put out a tender for various initiatives, what we call strategic initiatives, to further that aim. I had to distance myself from some of the decisions around selecting those strategic initiatives, having a particular commitment to the topic of this summit and as one of the presenters tomorrow. But we had some outstanding applications, but this one sort of stood well above many of the others. And what was wonderful about it, and again, I add my thanks to Anne's, to Linda and Kylie, is that then other people were pulled into the equation, QUT, Springer, to support this initiative. And I think when we had a conversation around this initiative, we had no idea that it would be an event like this, and we're thrilled to have to see this and to see you here. Something occurred to me when Anne was giving her acknowledgement, and what I've always loved in the QUT acknowledgement is that recognising that this has always been a place of teaching and learning, and that this conference in some ways encapsulates the notion that teaching and learning doesn't always happen in schools. It can happen in the cracks and spaces of schooling, on the way to and from classroom, can happen in parks. We know that some of the schools now operating in Brisbane had their life beginning in a park. It can happen when when a child sits down with a parent to cook a meal. It can happen when a parent sits down with a child and learns about how to use computer programs. That learning goes multiple ways and occurs all the time. It's great pleasure when I read through the program to see things about, alongside quotes from Dickens, to see talk of knocking down school walls and buildings, to see talk about games. One of the things I used to do with my student teachers before they went out on prac was to tell them that you need to create spaces in your classrooms where it's okay to fail. And many of the student teachers would sort of say, well, what does that mean? And my point was, if you think about students young people who engage with computer games, they don't mind how many times they get killed off. They just keep coming back and back and back, because every time that they fail, they've learnt something new. And I think one of the things that's happened in classrooms is that fear of failure, and Anne made reference to the Einstein quote, and the stress and tension that many students feel, that I know that I've interviewed around NAPLAN time, about that fear of failure. And I think that one of the things that I imagine will be discussed over the next 2 days is how we make it okay for students to try to learn, to fail, to go back and start again, so that they do stay engaged with the learning process. I'm looking forward to the discussions that will be had over the course of the next 2 days, participating in those discussions. The coffee breaks where there's chance to talk to people. Again, I think if we're thinking about different ways of learning, the learning isn't only going to be when it's this kind of transaction. It will be occurring when we have those coffee breaks and conversations over lunch and so on. So again from AARE, I want to welcome you here, thank those people who have also contributed to funds and support to this summit, to again thank Linda and Kylie, and hope that you have many enjoyable and exciting moments over the next 2 days. Thanks very much.